Because Star Trek, the only reason it worked is because in the future they had free energy. You didn't have to work for a living. They didn't have a monetary system anymore. Everybody was free to, chase their dreams, invent things in this magical utopia, what was obviously a socialist group, which was the Federation of Planets, or the UN. It's a Fabian socialist designed thing, but they put a smiling face on it, and that they're the good guys, and these unique aliens out there with their own views, interpretations, religions, they were the bad guys.
New studies show that by the time people reach their middle ages, the body often produces less than half of the collagen it did in their youth. Collagen is the main building block in our skin, making up 70 to 80% of it. This is why we get sagging skin and wrinkles as we age. If you want to look younger, you must supplement collagen, which will improve your skin's elasticity, make it smoother, more plump, and more youthful looking. That's why Ageless Multi-Collagen provides 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources, essential to optimally support an array of full-body benefits. No odor, no taste, no clumping, unlike other collagen supplements. And this is why I recommend Health with Adapt 2030. Ageless Multi-Collagen, and look at that, I need another bag already. Quick way for youthful appearance. Use the link in the description box below for 51% off my favorite Ageless Multi-Collagen. And now on with the video.
So what are we going to do? We keep talking about how we're going to live through this, new phase in reality that we're going in. I've been thinking about it, and I know as a peasant, I have to stay here on Earth. When I go through the news, I see this stuff like America's new vision of astronauts. I mean, there's like tons of articles pumping the idea that we're all going to space. Us, China, Russia, the US, the whole world, we're all going out there. We're going to live on Mars. We're going to live on the moon. And they keep on doing this. And then I'm watching the reality of it. All of the other articles across the board are starting to lean you into the direction of accepting space as a bigger part of your life. We're being locked in ever more and more. And then at the same time, they're telling us that, no, don't worry about it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to go out in space. Don't worry about the fact that we said we're going to create your reality for you. You need to stay inside between 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock when your overlords, the Anunnaki, walk through town, and they're not expecting any pot shots out there with your pebble throwers. Now, think about that. They're conditioning us. It's probably not aliens. It's probably just some elite people. You ever see that movie where the guy eats the perfect meal and then he says, I need you to bring me the cook? And they're like, why? He said, because I'm going to kill him. Nobody else should ever eat this perfect meal that I just enjoyed. And the elite are a lot like that. They want the whole planet to themselves, like literally. But they don't mind having a few peasants around. That's the way it seems to be. Like they're trying to brainwash people into back in the ancient times where kings and priests demanded worship as if they were gods, even though they were just earthly men like you and me.
Earlier I mentioned farming techniques on the earth, and I keep coming back to this, and I'll never shake this thought as long as I live. I watched the movie Jupiter Ascending. And after watching that movie, that bent my reality as to the way the possible true workings of this Earth and our solar system are. And you mentioned it. Why would we go to space? We're already in space. But see, they've conditioned us so much that we're just on a rock on our feet and we need to go to space, but our Earth is hurling through space along with the rest of our solar system. But the movie Jupiter Ascending was about the quote-unquote overlords or the masters or whatever you might want to call them. There's been names through history. And the money masters is a branch of that for today. But their main base And their main home was on Jupiter, and the Earth was a farming colony. Not only us as humans were farmed for, as you say, compliance, to do tasks for those who didn't want to get their hands dirty, for a better word, but also to create food and sustenance to deliver back to Jupiter. And the whole movie really made sense. And now it could have taken on an inner Earth form as well, where there's been so many stories about, societies that have their own power sources on the inner Earth. But then we come back to this whole UFO thing again, which is most interesting. Electrogravitics. So that rocket explosion that you saw would never happen in the real world because you would be using electrogravity craft instead of fired rocket engines to move anywhere. You go back to World War II and people were experimenting with this. Von Braun, yeah, he was doing the rocket engine, but fast forward to 1960s, Dr. Brown, electrogravitics. This was weightless air travel, silent, and then here, get it again. This is how it ties into the UFO. See, when it spins in opposite rotation on the discs, there's a charge to it. That's why they see these things glowing in the sky. You have to as a gasoline engine, you have to off gas. That's why you have a tailpipe. Those gases that are burnt need to be off-gassed from your engine. Well, these electrogravitics craft, they have to release an overcharge, and that overcharge is what we call electricity. And with smaller units, you could have free power that would power a house, a neighborhood, in perpetuity, indefinitely, in a small little tiny box that would never break down. And you would just start it, and you would have no input, no electricity bills. And think about how that would work if you could make semi-tractor trailers weightless, and if you could make other things weightless as well, how our world would be very different, where we would have no transportation costs, we'd have no electrical input. So whatever you wanted to do with irrigation or metal smelting or whatever would cost nothing, it'd be free. And this is where the whole thing kind of blends in back to your whole, why are they releasing all the... Think about the electromagnetic changes in the human brain. Like I said, every grand solar minimum, they need to come up with a new structure for the economy, a new governance model. And I think coming into this new change in this grand solar minimum, they're going to have to give free power because the old fossil fuel burning way won't work, literally won't work after this shift comes up. So that's this whole push into green energy and everything. It's get you to go there in the mind. So I think they're going to move the world over to this free energy and then a slow drip. They could talk green energy till they're blue in the face, but imagine if that's kind of the intermediate step to get you to think that there's something different that you could already get used to change on a power source. And then suddenly, all the UFOs, they all have these anti-gravity devices also create free electricity. Wow. You only have to buy one for $18,000 for your house. You never have to buy power again. Get one at GE, babies. They're going to shift into electrogravitics power discharge.
We finally are at a point where I would agree that this world government is finally coming to fruition with this new administration. There's nothing left to stop them in this, as Kissinger said, capitalist communist society, not unlike China. And that's because they want to merge with China, because China, it has the biggest navy in the world, some of the most determined people in the world, and a scary, scary overlord government that we're designing ours after.
Yeah, and having seen that whole blend of systems when I was working in China, it's functional, it's complete compliance, and you'll be allowed to work and make money. The minute you have an original thought and go off base on changing any kind of structure of the government, the economy, the corruption, the top down, you're wiped out. You're a complete threat, and there's nobody there to help you. You're just wiped out completely.
They try to sell us on Star Trek, this friendly version. Here, we're finally going to let you explore a little bit, but we got to reduce the population down, and you guys got to go to a credit system. Because Star Trek, the only reason it worked is because in the future they had free energy. You didn't have to work for a living. They didn't have a monetary system anymore. Everybody was free to, chase their dreams, invent things in this magical utopia what was obviously a socialist group, which was the Federation of Planets, or the UN. It's a Fabian socialist designed thing, but they put a smiling face on it, and that they're the good guys, and these unique aliens out there with their own views, interpretations, religions. They were the bad guys, even though the UN, the Federation was friendly and accepted everyone as long as you assimilated, which is funny. And then they put the Borg out there that was the next level of transhumanism, of this super elite, awesome, perfect communist Borg society, top down, which is what they want right now. So how do you feel about showing up in the US just in time to watch it convert to what you left?
Maybe that's the reason I was born, to go through such a thing and help that transition not manifest.
Amen.
So imagine the Federation being the global governance that we understand as the globalists, quote unquote. But then you have even a more pure version of that, which was the Borg. But then the globalists would be fighting the Borg and the transhuman. The Federation fighting the Borg, then, this whole transhumanist thing versus the global government thing is exactly what that equates to. And at what point do the globalists give up their power to become transhuman? Because they got to realize, too, they're going to lose their sovereignty by becoming transhumans. AI is going to control them indefinitely as well. So in a realistic form, you got to tell me that these guys really want to put computer chips in their brains and be taken over by a non-sentient computer algorithm program, artificial intelligence that can then control their body, mind, and what they can do and think and say and how they can act, and they can terminate their life at any time. And they're going to put that in their bodies? They might talk up the transhumanist thing. I doubt that they're going to interface with the AI, because that AI would exterminate all humanity, and they would be one of the ones that would be exterminated as well. So I don't get it.
That's weird, because Elon Musk pushes the idea of the Neuralink in opposition to AI. It's acting like putting a Wi-Fi, a Fitbit in your head is not opening yourself up to the AI, which seems on its face ridiculous. But think about that. I was joking with my kid I think last month, and I made him watch Johnny Mnemonic, which was supposed to be January 17th, 2021, which was like the day I think we watched it. And in the movie, if you've seen it, he's smuggling information in his brain, in a brain chip, and he has to plug in and download it and get it out of his head, or he'll not be able to put his own memories back in there. And they were already living in this weird society where everything was falling apart, but the super elite were living a good life, and it was a complete transhuman takeover of the planet. And that's what he was hiding from. He was trying to get some code somewhere. And I laughed at how good they predicted the future. It's still Hollywood and sci-fi looking, but if you take that filter off, you realize the main facts are all facts right now. No longer science fiction. It is science fact. It's just not all these cute characters. We're at that time right now. Everybody should clap their hands. We're not going to space, but Elon Musk may take you into another dimension, and others like him, by implanting devices in your head that will connect you to the world's wide web. And everybody knows that that's super ultra controlled now through algorithms. So do you want your, when you get censored, for it to happen inside of your head, right when you're thinking the thought, because that's where you're going?
Well, you forgot the ground up worm shake as well for breakfast.
Oh. Yeah, that's on the Snowpiercer movie where they're eating the bugs.
Yeah, that was a great movie. That really, whoever did that movie, I forget who the director was, nailed it on the segmentation of society, and not bugs with that kind of gooey, looked like a Jello goo or whatever. It was ground up insects. They knew it from there, right in the middle, huh? They knew it.
Get your protein bar, only $39.95.
Yeah, because it reminds me a little bit what you're talking about, that last statement about the uber elite living in their kind of castles and with the mix with the AI and everything else is, outside and falling apart down here, kind of like Elysium but worse. I remember seeing this guy, Bitcoin Future Traveler. Guy came back. And this is all about Bitcoin and the run up in Bitcoin. And he's like, you got to destroy Bitcoin. You can't let it go forward. And he was saying the price predictions of each year that the prices would be for the Bitcoin. And he's been 100% correct up to this year, which he's calling $100,000. And then in 2 years, he's calling $1 million. But then one interesting thing is he says right about that 23 period, 2023, anybody who had any type of Bitcoin at all, they would go to these places called the Citadels. And these are areas of extreme wealth where if you had any Bitcoin at all, that you would be allowed in to live and spend out your days and spend your Bitcoin inside the Citadel. While the rest of the world collapsed outside of it into this Neanderthal kill fest out here, or whatever it would be, lack, shortage, starvation, diseasey kind of thing. And even a tenth of a Bitcoin would have allowed you to live the rest of your life up there in what we would consider beyond opulence in today's world. And that was the whole message of this time traveler, supposedly, that came back talking about you need to destroy the Bitcoin because that was the thing that interfaced you to be able to enjoy those luxuries in the Citadel. Which is interesting that you said that thing about they're going to pull back and live in their castles up there and interface with AI while everything crashes around down here. This bending of reality, you wonder, how much it's getting bent because we're almost buying into it that it's set in stone that it's going to be this way. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps that's the mind screw right there, that all this control is really just like the Wizard of Oz. There is no control. But if they can get your mind to believe it is, they don't even have to send troops out on the streets. They can just do it through the news and the social media and fake the newscasts. And you'll think, oh, well, they're doing it. I've never seen any SWAT teams come down my streets. It's on the news every day. I haven't seen troop movements around my area, but it's on the news every day. It's almost like everything is generated electronically, fictitiously, and put out into the media as in this reality bend of this, whatever it is, this patent that you're talking about, could be a systematic, step-by-step process to gaslight and brainwash an entire society through images, movies, all social media, on screen only, but nothing in the real world's happening in front. But they'll be terrified of what's coming out of the screen, so they'll give up their sovereignty, although nothing in the physical world is happening to them. It's all only in their heads on a screen. Because if you turn off your computer for 10 days and walk away from this, real world manifestation, like physical things in front of you, plopping around you, it's not here.